Hello, thank you for stopping by the channel. This is the Simpsons game for the PlayStation 3, released by Electronic Arts back in 2007. This is basically a platformer that was made for a stack of different systems. PlayStation 3, of course. They also had PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo DS, and the PlayStation Portable. I do remember when this game was released because there were a ton of television commercials advertising it. I bought myself a copy some years back and it basically sat in the collection for years. I decided to give it a try and popped it in a few weeks back. I really didn't know what to expect, and though there were some things I would consider problematic, it's not too bad. I think the first thing that struck me when I started playing this was that, although there are a few different Simpsons games out there, I think maybe there aren't enough Simpsons games out there. I mean, really, the show has more than 30 years of episodes, and a very finite amount of games in comparison. They certainly exist, but there aren't any really big-budget titles, really. At least, not that try to get to this scope, anyway. Yes, there were things from back in the NES era, but nothing really grand like this. This was an EA game, and it had a push behind it back in the day for sure. Like I said, it's a platformer, and it has cel-shaded graphics that look pretty close to the show's animation, I think, even if it's a 3D environment. As far as going for a replication of the show, I think it does a pretty good job. So we have a 3D modeled Springfield that you get to run around and interact with. I think this is one of the fun pulls of this game. It's just fun running around a three-dimensional Springfield. It just is. I mean, I kind of want to see how they stitch the whole thing together. Now, the map isn't gigantic, but there's enough stuff here to run around and, get on top of, or check out, get inside maybe. They keep it reasonably fun. It isn't an open world sort of game like Grand Theft Auto or anything, but you do get to roam around a bit. You choose between 4 Simpsons characters, and you actually play them in pairs. So you're going to pick 2, and you can switch between them on the fly, which is great. As you run around Springfield, you're always looking towards the next episode, or mission, whatever you want to call it. You're going to see a glowing pillar in the distance somewhere rising into the sky. This is the thing you need to run towards. This is how you start the various game episodes. There are also going to be collectible tokens along the way that you can gather. You find these in the town of Springfield itself, and of course on the mission levels as well. If you're someone who likes to complete all tasks in a game, this one has a few for you. As far as the plot goes, it kind of wanders all over the place. Most important is that the characters are aware of themselves being in a video game. Bart finds a game manual for the Simpsons game, and he realizes that the whole Simpsons family now have superpowers. Homer can blow up like a giant balloon, Bart can turn into Bartman, Lisa uses her saxophone, and Marge uses a megaphone to rally people. The powers are needed to overcome various obstacles in the different levels. There are certain characters that are supposed to be used in some areas. I think it's the individual levels where you get to run around and do one of 2 things. You can first mash a button to beat someone up, or you can use your powers to fight or navigate the level. The various powers here, they kind of make the game feel, I don't know, more like a platformer with very stringent rules as opposed to an adventure game that gives you a lot of choice. And I guess that's okay. Most of the levels just feel like you're working to learn how the game is expecting you to navigate. That's how you get to the end of the level. Variety is not here. There are plenty of Simpsons characters involved in the game that you're going to find and run into, and there are plenty of throwbacks to the different Simpsons episodes and specific lore. Even for a game that came out 15 years ago, you get plenty of Simpsons stuff in here. Personally, I'm a fan of The Simpsons, especially for the first 10 years, so I enjoy these little references along the way. It makes it fun. I can't say the game handles awesome, though. It does get the job done, but it's not great. In a lot of ways, it feels like it's unforgiving, and I find myself just fighting with the controls in places I wouldn't expect to have to worry about them. Bart has this gliding power when he's Bartman, and it doesn't really glide you that far. It does upgrade later in the game, but when you need it, little sort of areas where you think it's a simple jump just from one spot to another, it takes a bunch of tries to get it right. I just wish it were a little more forgiving as an ability in spots like this. Homer can blow up as a giant ball when he rolls around, and I guess him as a ball handles well enough. It's just not the easiest to aim and use him as an offensive weapon. It's certainly workable, but it does take some time to adjust. It's just not very intuitive to handle. One of the things that I do find unfortunate with this game is that the camera sometimes gets in the way. It just doesn't always adjust, and it can make it hard to see certain things. You can't easily look around some corners, something on top of a roof or a truck. You can't see that stuff necessarily. I just think the camera could have used a little more work. As you would imagine, there's plenty of voice acting going on here, and of course, the voices are authentic to the characters, which is great. I think if they got substitute voice actors, it would really sort of have detracted from this game, possibly even ruined it outright. I made it halfway through this game before I started writing this script, and I have to say, as a fan of The Simpsons, I am enjoying the experience. There's an impressive amount of mission variety, even if there's really a limited amount of levels. There are a total of 16. Some of the levels reflect things that happened in The Simpsons show directly, while others are sort of parodies of various classic arcade games. There's a level that basically mimics Super Mario Bros. In a few different ways. These scenes are deliberate when they happen, and they work pretty well overall. Not amazing, but they work sufficiently enough. I was also happy to get a level that connected The Simpsons to the Simpsons aliens, Kang and Kodos, even if this level wasn't particularly large or difficult. So, we have an enjoyable experience, especially for Simpsons fans, but it does feel much more limited than I would have expected. The platforming concept here is repetitive, and the combat system is basic or rudimentary at best. You don't level up your characters in this game, and you really don't unlock stuff. After a while, you just suddenly get upgrades. When you do it like this, it just makes it feel like I'm trying to just get myself through to the end. It doesn't make it seem like I'm trying to grow any of the characters in any particular direction. As a result, there's really no sense of progression or growth. Also, when you have to choose a character to play, that character is someone that you probably have to use in a particular area. Like, you can use any character to wander around Springfield, but when you go to do an actual mission, there are requirements for characters, like they force you to use certain people. As a result, okay, you kind of don't get to do exactly what you want to do, you do what the game wants you to do. Also, if you don't like certain characters, that's going to be problematic here. I'm more than halfway through the game right now. I think I'm 60 or 70% through. They've forced me to use Marge a couple of times. It's just not a fun character to play in this one. Not really. But, overall, I am enjoying it. And we do get two-dimensional animations between some of the levels. Like actual animations like you were watching the show. They keep the story moving forward, even if the story is out there. And it's certainly aware of itself as a show or a video game in this case. It just looks like a complete Simpsons episode, and they're always fun to watch, even if it's just for a few minutes. So overall, I do like the experience. I just wish it was a little more. I think if you look online for walkthroughs, the game isn't particularly long. I think I was seeing some walkthroughs that beat this in like 5 or 6 hours. For a game that was at a premium price when it came out, this wasn't a $20 game. This was a $60 game when it hit the shelf. I kind of expect 15 to 20 hours for a game like this. But it is what it is, and at this stage it's what, 13, 15 years old? We haven't had any real Simpsons games since then, nothing that stands out in my mind anyway, so I guess we have to take what we can get. Well, that's all I have today for the Simpsons game for the PlayStation 3. If this is your type of video, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff, and thank you for stopping by to take a look for a while. Hope to catch you on another video.
Everything you say bounces off me and sticks to you.